The Ku Klux Klan marching through a college campus, torches in hand, was, for many of us, one of the most disturbing images we've seen in recent times. For Pulitzer Prize-winning author and presidential historian Jon Meacham, the violence that unfolded in Charlottesville served as a reminder of times gone by when presidents refused to cater to such mobs and, in his words, conquered them with a breadth of vision that speaks to the best parts of our soul. It also served as a catalyst for his book, The Soul of America, The Battle for Our Better Angels, which reflects back on critical moments in our history when hope overcame division and fear. Jon Meacham joins us now. Jon, welcome back home.
Thank you.
This is a studio that you inaugurated a few years back.
That's right.
A show that you did nationally with Mariano Hossa. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, let me start with the obvious question. What was it about Charlottesville and the president's response to it that led to this book?
The idea that a president of the United States would say that there was blame on many sides when a young counter-protester who was standing up against Klansmen and neo-Nazis and white nationalists was killed. A young woman named Heather Heyer, whose name we should remember. 2 state troopers died as part of the security operation. They were casualties of an ongoing war. And there's always violence, there's always hate, there's always fear. That's part of a fallen world. But at our best, presidents have reminded us of our better angels and not catered to our worst instincts. And it was very clear to me in Charlottesville that Donald Trump was using a tragic hour to pander to parts of his own base.
Yeah, and we'll get to all that in one second. But the title of the book, The Soul of America. Does America have a soul? Do countries have souls?
Absolutely, I think so. I thought a lot about this because it's both a philosophical, pagan philosophical idea and a religious one. Soul in Hebrew and in Greek can be translated as breath or life. So it's really the essence of someone. Socrates asked the question, what is it that makes a person a person? And his answer was a soul. It's not, however, a lot of 4th of July orations, a lot of quick things that are said would say, well, our soul is always good, or what I agree with it is. My sense is that the American soul has room for both Dr. King and the KKK. And every era is defined by which of those two wins out for a given period of time. So it's a perennial struggle. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident that the founders said we are searching for a more perfect union, not a perfect one. And presidents have, at their best, managed to marshal the voices of the powerless, the protesters, the resistors, the suffragists, the people who fought for abolition, the people who fought against Jim Crow, the people who fought for marriage equality. All those movements began far from the pinnacle of power. But it has required a president and a Congress and courts and a press to recognize those voices and put them into political action.
So the battle for our better angels, that perennial struggle that you're talking about, can be boiled down to a battle between fear and hope, right?
So, absolutely. Fear is, Edmund Burke said, there's nothing more irrational than fear. St. Augustine defined it as fear is the anxiety that we're going to not have what we love. And so we're in an hour today where, because of globalization, because of its implications, because of stagnant wages and incomes, there are an enormous number of people who fear that a way of life they believe is familiar will go away. And it's not the first time this has happened. That's the point of this, is that it happened in the 1920s when 50,000 Klansmen marched down Pennsylvania Avenue. Happened in the early 1950s when Joe McCarthy led witch hunts against communists. So fear is a perennial force. At our best, we have pushed ahead. And to me, the pushing ahead is always defined by to what extent are we willing to widen the definition of the founding idea that we're all created equal.
So you clearly believe that the role of the American president as a moral leader is equally, if not more important than his, and it's always been his role as the CEO of the country, right?
Absolutely.
And the bulk of the book, is referencing back to dark moments in American history where usually through the prodding of people, reformers outside of government, the presidents, rise up to the moment and win for the better angels. Give us some examples.
The most recent one is Lyndon Johnson.
No, that was terrific. That was terrific.
Who, as a white Southern senator, had not been a champion of civil rights, the fact of his national election as vice president had a real impact on him. He gave a speech at Gettysburg in Memorial Day 1963, about 6 months before he became president, after the tragedy in Dallas, in which he laid out the unfinished work of Lincoln. And he decided the night of Kennedy's assassination that he was not going to compromise on the Civil Rights Bill. And he pushed it through to voting rights as well. And there's this marvelous scene, and to me this captures all of it, because this is where we are now. It's as though George Wallace actually became president. That's roughly where we are, a right-wing populist who did represent genuine concerns, as you say. But that economic message was freighted with a racial and a culturally divisive one that ultimately eroded hope. So, Wallace won't let the marchers go from Selma to Montgomery. The Bloody Sunday standoff where John Lewis and Hosea Williams are nearly beaten to death. Yeah. And Johnson summons George Wallace to the Oval Office. Classic Johnson. So Wallace is a little guy anyway. And so he puts him on a deep cushioned couch, and Wallace is down like this, and Johnson's and he says, "When you're gone, do you want your tombstone to say, George Wallace, he hated, or George Wallace, he built?" And part of my message here is, think about, if you're in public life as an office holder, think about what we're going to think about you when we look at your oil portrait. Right. And that's ultimately going to last a lot longer than any given cycle or any other tweet storm.
Talk about Franklin Roosevelt, because he has plays a particular role in the book.
He does, and in the life of the country, obviously. The idea that Roosevelt would have become the figure he did was highly improbable. Walter Lippmann dismissed him as a young man of no particular skill who would very much like to be president. In the annals of columnist predictions that didn't work out, that's pretty high. But he could have, because of the crisis of 1933, 1 out of 4 Americans out of work, a deep crisis in institutions, global anxiety and unease. Any of this sound familiar? He could have assumed more dictatorial powers. The line in his inaugural address that got more of a reaction than the only thing we have to fear itself was, "The present crisis may require me to take on wartime powers." And the crowd roared. Wow. And Eleanor Roosevelt, who became sort of the heroine of the book, actually, said, "It chilled me because they wanted a dictator." That night, March 4th, 1933, Roosevelt is sitting in the White House for the first night of 12 years. And a brain truster comes to him, an advisor. And he says, if you go, rather pretentiously, when you think about it, "Mr. President, if you succeed, you will go down as one of our greatest presidents. If you fail, you will go down as one of our worst." And FDR looked at him and said, "If I fail, I may go down as the last." Wow. It was an existential crisis. My own view, because I believe that character is destiny, as the Greeks taught us, is that Roosevelt was able to lift us up because he had lifted himself up. Yeah. 39 years old, one of the most popular politicians of the Democratic Party. It's 1921, the year before he'd been nominated for vice president at the age of 38. Had everything going for him. He wakes up with infantile paralysis and yet wills himself back into the arena. Yeah.
Now, as you make clear, throughout all these profiles of these presidents, they were all highly flawed men.
Absolutely.
Who somehow lifted themselves. They had some substance of character that allowed them to transform themselves. You talked about Lyndon Johnson. You don't have that hope, or do you have that hope still of the current president?
I live in hope. What I would say to the president, if I had a minute with him, was, do you want us, when we look at your portrait, which will go down on the state floor, we know where it'll be, do you want people walking by there to go, "Oh, God, that's the guy from The Apprentice who screwed everything up"? Or do you want to walk by and go, "You know what? He was unconventional, and he had his moments, but damn it, he did this on guns, he did this on jobs, he did this."
And with all countries,
that, to my mind, is the only thing that might appeal to Trump, because it's about him.
All right, John. The book is The Soul of America, The Battle for Our Better Angels. You read it, and you'll have hope. Thank you so much.
Sir.